Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Human Resources in History. This podcast aims to offer insights from 7,000 years of human history to help modern human resource practices. I am your host, Makoto, a data scientist and journalist.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jin, your co-host. I'm an HR professional and passionate history lover.
Hey, Jim, so tell me what we're going to talk about today.
So today we are traveling back to the Industrial Revolution. So it's a period that has so many layers and complexities. And I believe there are a lot of lessons we can draw from it. So especially in the face of today's technological advancements like AI, it's a pretty well-known topic, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Industrial Revolution, it's pretty well known.
Right. Then what do you know about it, Makoto?
I like how you want to test my knowledge every time. So what I know about Industrial Revolution is that the machines started replacing human labor, steam engines, for example. Then the efficiency boosted, productivity boosted, and humans became able to produce a lot of things at much larger scale. That's all I know.
Sure, well, it's a pretty good. So let me walk you through a little bit about the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution began in 18th century Britain, with the textile industry being the first to adopt modern production methods. And there are several groundbreaking technologies, including the spinning jenny, the water frame, and the power loom. If you learn the world history in high school, you must have heard of these words. So subsequently, the wave of innovation spread across various industries. And this period marked a shift from handcraft-based economies to those driven by machines. And the effects rippled through Western Europe and the United States. But today's focus is not machines, but people.
Okay, so how people reacted to those changes or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Just as with any significant change, there were supporters and detractors for the Industrial Revolution as well. So one of the most interesting groups from this era was, do you know any particular group of people?
Oh, you're testing me again.
I'm asking you again. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
You might have heard about, for example, when people are left behind the technological advancements, and then if they resist against it, people call them sometimes Luddites.
Oh, yes, it rings a bell.
Right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the Luddites.
Okay, can you tell me more about them?
Sure. The Luddites were skilled craftsmen who feared that these new machines would make their skills useless or obsolete, right? Because they had skills that can be easily replaced by new machines. So, for example, the revolution started from the textile industry, right? So the Luddites and the textile industry had skills like weaving, knitting, spinning, and lace making, and so on.
So they are making clothes, right?
Yeah.
A piece of clothes.
Yeah, exactly. So, I recommend you and the listeners to Google it, because I also Googled weaving process, knitting process, spinning. It was quite interesting.
What I can imagine from hearing those words is that wooden machine that you move the handle forward and backward to, insert string a little by little so that it kind of makes the clothes gradually.
Yeah, I think basically, weaving is, you put the strings into in between another strings. So that's what the Luddites were doing before Industrial Revolution, right?
Okay.
But unsurprisingly, these skills were easily replaced by machines. So the Luddites viewed technology as a direct threat to their livelihoods.
I mean, that's very understandable, right? Because they would basically lose their jobs. Yeah, if I were one of the factory workers back in the 18th century Britain, then I would definitely freak out, because I have some families to protect. I need to earn money, and suddenly, because of the machine, my job is gone. That's pretty scary.
Right? So they basically did, protest. In this protest, they would break into factories and damaging or even destroying the machines in the factories. So that's quite aggressive and radical, right? But they believed that by doing so, they could safeguard their traditional means of earning a living. So that's, in a way, it's not natural. I don't want to justify it, but that's the way left for them to do.
Okay, so they resorted to violence. They basically broke the machines so that their jobs cannot be replaced because there will be no machines. Everything is broken.
That's right. And the Luddite movement was not just a minor event in history. It's really huge. The Luddite movement had its peak between somewhere around like 1811 and 1817, and with the riots spreading across multiple cities, including Nottingham, Yorkshire, and Lancashire. So yeah, basically the movement spread across the entire nation, and the British government initially responded with quite punitive measures, including laws like the 1788 Protection of Stocking Frames Act. Basically, this act aimed at increasing the penalties for the deliberate disruption of the activity of mechanical knitting machines. And also the British government introduced the 1799 Combination Act. This law basically prohibited trade unions and collective bargaining by British workers. So it is obvious that these measures specifically targeted the Luddites because they did collective actions, and also it broke into the factories and they're destroying the machines.
So the government made a law that prohibited the workers from making trade unions. It sounds really bad because trade unions is something that they really need to protect their lives, their means to earn money, but
yes,
they made it illegal to form trade unions.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And actually, so this is my guess, but the British government and the local government, they raked in a lot of profit from the new machines, right? So they also didn't want to protect the workers, because by protecting the workers, they have to somewhat give up on the profit that they can get from these factories, right?
Wait, why do they get profit from the factories?
The tax.
Yeah,
if factories make a lot of profit, the local governments and national government can also benefit from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. What do you think happened after these punitive measures?
So I guess, there were a lot of people who got arrested, sent to prisons, and I don't know, did they probably stop rioting? That's what I would assume, because, you don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, actually the first part was right. Some people were put into jail, and actually some people were killed. Some Luddites were killed. And
by whom?
I think it was by the government or police.
Really? Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah. So that was really terrible. Yeah.
Wow.
That was quite intense. But unfortunately, these punitive measures only intensified the Luddites' resistance.
It was the other way.
Yeah, right. That actually escalated because, sometimes when you try to suppress something, you will actually have more resistance from it.
By the way, did they have a arm, like guns, or to resist the punitive measure from the government?
I don't know, but
Okay.
I'm sure they brought some tools to break all these machines.
Yeah.
Right. So let me move on.
Sure.
So as I said, these laws only intensify the Luddites' resistance, and then what made matters worse, the working conditions deteriorated as well.
Yeah.
So let me explain the logic. Using machines entailed repetitive actions as straightforward as pushing or pulling a lever. Basically, machines made jobs really easy.
Yeah.
So consequently, skilled men like Luddites found themselves forced to accept significantly lower wages.
Yeah, understandable.
As I said, because the work no longer required their skills, right? And then this led to the situation that women and children were also exploited for cheaper labor in a dangerous environment.
Oh, so during that time, children were also working at the factory.
Yes, actually, child labor was a huge issue during the Industrial Revolution. So many kids got injured and even died in factories, like in mines or in factories. Although the machines were relatively easier to use, there was still a lot of accidents.
Oh, that sounds horrible. I
Yes.
understand because, in a family, if a father is about to lose a job and he expects less and less salary coming in, then probably he would ask his kids to go out and earn a little money as much as possible, right?
Mhm.
So more and more children, I guess they were pushed to the factory.
Yeah. The sad thing is that obviously children had to work very long hours and they didn't have enough time to rest, and also they didn't have enough time to sleep. Their eating habit was not ideal as well. So what happened is that the British kids were relatively smaller than the peers in France or other continental Europe,
Mm.
because yeah, it's they lack of nutrition and they will lack of time to sleep, and then obviously they didn't have to receive proper education.
Oh, okay, wow, that's a really sad side of the story. So they
Yes.
had no choice, either to accept the new machines and lose a job, or resist to the change and being sent to jail. Children go to the factory to work more, and while at the same time losing the health.
Yes, it's very bad spiral. It's a lose lose lose. Well, actually, who won was the government, of course, because they can have a lot of profit. But the biggest winners were factory owners, or more like investors or capitalists.
Yeah.
Industrial Revolution developed the capitalism further, but the capitalism is not the today's main topic, so we're not gonna deep dive into it. But you know what I meant.
Okay. We can talk about
Yeah.
it sometime, some another time. Then, how has the situation changed after all?
Yeah, so eventually, yeah, it improved. Otherwise, it's just a very sad story. So the immediate response from the government might not have been the best, but over time, they realized the importance of education. So to overcome this challenge, local governments and industrialists started to establish educational institutions called mechanics institutes. So those mechanics institutes are very important for today's episode. They focused on teaching scientific and technical skills to the workers.
Okay, so it's, how can I put, is it like a school or training center?
Exactly. Because anyway, to use new machines, they need to first they need to understand how to use the machines, but also many industrialists like factory owners, they needed to hire people who understand how to manage those machines.
Okay, so there were, of course, the jobs that were replaced, but at the same time, there were new jobs that came
Yes,
in because of the
exactly.
introduction of the machines.
Exactly. The analogy is that now there are more needs toward
Yeah.
IT workers because now everything is digitalized. So people now can easily use a system. But of course, behind it, we still need a human. Actually, we need more human to manage these IT systems.
Right.
So the same thing basically happened during the Industrial Revolution. Machines replaced old jobs, but new jobs were born to manage these machines.
So nowadays, we have Coursera, Udacity, and also videos on YouTube. People create online courses really quickly when
Yes.
the new topic comes in. But then back in that time, I don't think people were able to create schools that quickly, right? So
Yeah.
tell me the timeline. Like you said, the Industrial Revolution had its peak between 1811 and 1817, right? And
Yes.
how quick was the government to create the Mechanics Institute?
Right. So actually, as you pointed out, it took time. It's not like LinkedIn Learning or Coursera where we can easily create new learning courses thanks to technology.
Okay.
Actually, these mechanical institutes, they were born before the peak of the Luddites movement. The beginning with the Anderson's Institution, founded by John Anderson in Glasgow in 1795. A lot of mechanical institutes were promoted by local industrialists, clergy, and other members of the professional class who were keen to improve in the educational standard of working people. But that took quite a lot of time.
Okay, I understand. So the timeline is a little flipped, right? The Industrial Revolution, the Luddite movement had its peak between the beginning of 18th century, but then there were already people who realized the importance of education before that.
Yes,
because you
exactly.
said the first institution was built in 1795. And then gradually it spread across the country.
So in a way, it's important to note that these mechanics institutes were established not in direct response to the Luddites. It's not very streamlined or structured from the beginning. It's not like that. The very beginning, it was the effort made by the local business people or local governments, not the national government. But throughout time, it became more structured by the British government. These mechanics institutes were more structured by the British government, and then eventually played a significant role to shift to the new economy.
Okay, can you just explain to me examples of courses or skills that they were teaching to people?
Yeah, the one thing is, the scientific and technical skills. For example, like mathematics. Mathematics is quite important, right? To calculate the efficiency and then also calculate like human resources or working hours of the workers, etc. But also physics to help them understand how machines work.
Yeah, physics sounds really relevant in this case.
But also there were some records that some mechanics institutes taught English as well.
Oh, really?
Back in like almost 200, actually more than 200 years ago, the literacy was not as high as it is now. That is mechanics institutes. And then, so this podcast is not only to talk about history, but we need to extrapolate insights that we can use for the modern day HR practices. So what kind of lessons can we draw from this conflict between Luddites and the British government? Well, this is a question to you, Makoto.
I would say like how to break the machines or how to break the AI.
Yeah, you were really not ready when I asked you a question.
Why not? We're learning from the history.
Yeah. But it's important to draw the right lesson, right? And we should learn from the past, okay?
Yeah, okay.
So we should not learn from the mistake to make the same mistakes.
Okay.
Anyway, so for me, the lesson we can draw from here is that it is important to think about providing educational opportunities to fill in the gap in their skills, the Luddites, or employees, if you are business leaders or HR, rather than suppressing those resistant to change. This is one of the lessons we can draw. And in fact, many companies today are establishing what we call corporate universities. Have you heard of them?
Corporate universities. I have heard about it, but I'm not sure if I know the concept really well. Can you maybe explain what they are?
Think of them as specialized educational entities within corporations. So their aim is to align with the company's vision and missions, ensuring both individual and organizational learning and growth. In a way, it's learning team. But it's sometimes the people use the word university and learning team like in HR as the same meaning. But to gain a deeper understanding of the concept of corporate university, let's take a look at the 6 building blocks of a corporate university suggested by Boston Consulting Group. These were proposed more than 10 years ago, but I believe they remain relevant today. The first one, ambition and objectives, distilling the purpose and vision of the organization.
So it means to clarify and refine the core or essential objectives.
I would say so. And then the second one is activity scope, building a structure to realize the company's strategic role and vision.
So I guess the corporate university can be a part of the structure for the company's strategy.
Yeah, you're right. But in this second building block, it's more like corporate universities contribute to realize the company's strategic role and vision by creating a structure. This is a good distinction between learning team and corporate university. Learning team often produces content or provide trainings,
right?
But then they don't necessarily build the talent management or talent development structure or scheme. So the corporate university, they were expected to build a structure to realize the company's strategic role and vision. This is the second point. The third one is target audience and content. In other words, designing high-level curricula for each constituency. So it's like, in a way, traditional learning team, right? But they need to, design like a learning path for specific target audience.
Yeah, for each group of the people who receive those educational contents.
Right.
Okay.
And the fourth one is delivery model, providing the learning environment that supports the company's needs.
Yeah, it's straightforward.
It's not only to provide a good meeting room, but also environment and culture as well.
Okay.
And the fifth one is governance and structure, managing reporting relationships, finances, and facilities. So they are expected to do some sort of politics.
Politics. I read it in a way that it's saying you need to prepare relevant tools, like learning tools and also facilities to do the corporate university program, and also needs to be properly funded or financed.
Probably, yeah, you're right. Maybe the politics was not the right word to describe. But what I wanted to say is to deliver the value, they need to, as you said, fund and negotiate with the finance teams and also make sure the team structure, organization chart is correctly built.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. You need the politics, especially the financing part, right?
Yeah, but governance and structure. So of course, these 6 building blocks are very high level. So there might be some different interpretations, but I think we are both kind of aligned. And the last one, 6th building block, is branding and alliances. Mm-hmm. In other words, creating a strong brand and forging new partnership pathways. Personally, this 6th block, the last one, branding and alliances are the most important one, because labeling your traditional learning team as a university or academy in some cases can help secure top management support and secure a larger budget and attract HR talent to the team and foster a culture of learning within the organization.
I think we learned in the last episode that Toyota Technological Institute is not only for hiring future talents, but also for Toyota to create a brand image as an industry leader to provide talents in the industry.
Yeah,
so I guess this
true.
Educational program, whatever you name it, either like a university or courses, I don't know, it's closely related to companies' brands.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. The Toyota Technological University we talked about the last time was targeting external candidates. And the corporate universities we are talking about target internal employees. So this is a distinction, but I agree. Basically, these 2 different types of universities, they help corporate branding. Okay,
so to summarize all these 6 building blocks, you set the objectives, scope the structure to align with the company's vision, design the curricula for each group of people, provide learning environment, prepare tools and money, and also the last one is to create a brand, right? I mean, it looks really cool. It sounds very essential. All these blocks sound very essential. If you do all of these things, you will create a very good corporate university program, right? But it sounds involving a lot of work for HR department, right? Are there any examples of successful corporate university programs?
Yeah, so I think AT&T University, American telecommunication company, is a good example. So they established the university in 2008. The university is a strategic initiative to align their massive workforce with evolving business needs. For example, in collaboration with Udacity, which is an online training provider, AT&T University developed a series of nano-degree programs, particularly in areas like web development. I assume that they didn't have enough talent to do like web development, front-end engineering, etc. So that is why they worked with Udacity and then create specific curriculums for that. So, but as you said, it's not an easy thing. It requires a lot of work and involvement from many people, because basically what corporate universities are expected to do is to change the corporate culture, the way to learn and realize the corporate strategy.
You know, I previously worked at a company called Dataiku. To explain about Dataiku, they provide machine learning platform for enterprises. But when I think of the corporate university, I think Dataiku had a really nice internal program for upskilling in various topics like distributed computations, natural language processing, computer visions, all these really cool advanced technical topics. And especially people in the technical teams, we were encouraged to spend the whole afternoon every Friday to learn something new. We were encouraged not to put meetings with the clients in Friday afternoon. So I think I would say this is somewhat, well, not as sophisticated as AT&T's example, but somewhat kind of close to a corporate university program. It was more or less dependent on one person in an engineering team who was eager to teach other guys in various technological stuff. But when this person is busy, nobody organizes it, and the frequency was kind of random. When he has time, he organizes courses, but when he's busy, no classes. There are also no systematic incentives for the people to attend those classes. What I mean by systematic incentive is that they don't get degrees or they don't get new reviews in a review cycle or anything like that. It's just based on the curiosity of the people. So I think making it to the level of a actual corporate university, it requires really a lot of resources, effort, and it's not that easy.
What you did and what you guys did in the Dataiku is totally a good thing. But yeah, to make it more structured and with a certain budget and process, you can build even better learning environment.
Especially, I think, in today's artificial intelligence advancement, or I would call revolutions, many people fear their jobs are at risk of being replaced. Some companies can offer those employees an opportunities to learn about how to use these AI to do something new, to create some additional value. What do you think?
That's exactly the insight we wanted to draw from today's topic, which is Industrial Revolution. It teaches us the importance of adaptability, foresight, and the role of education in bridging gaps.
Okay. Jin, I worked as a journalist before for a financial newspaper company. I can say that a lot of journalists are afraid of losing their jobs because of ChatGPT or large language models in general, which are so good at writing things. Well, if you are really a good journalist, you can get valuable information from information sources. I don't think you will lose the job so easily, but the fear is really there. At least the writing part of your job will be gone soon. So I want to do some exercises about how to design the corporate university program. But if you are a CEO of a newspaper company, let's say Financial Times or whatever, how would you design the corporate university program for the journalist?
Recently, New York Times, they sued OpenAI because OpenAI used the contents from New York Times, right?
That's not like a resistance to technology, but more like copyright thing.
But, I believe that this also comes from the fear.
Definitely.
So if I were CEO of a newspaper company, what kind of learning path or corporate university I would provide? Oh, that's very interesting question. It's also important to write the whole story of change management or transformation. This newspaper company needs to lead a transformation from the current situation to the ideal situation. They need to create a strategy, and then they need to build the story of learning paths. And inside of it, for sure, learning how to use generative AI will be a core building block. But also it's important to educate. For example, telling the journalist how these craftsmen survived could be a good training content as well.
It kind of sets the mentality for the journalist, I would say.
Exactly, because some craftsmen they are very precious. Some craftsmen can only make certain types of pottery or furniture or something like that. Their skills are still relevant even 200 years after the Industrial Revolution. So if I were a CEO of a newspaper company, I would tell them first, the job will not be gone completely. You need to hone your skills as a journalist, but on top of that, you need to understand the current dynamics of technological advancements and then encourage them to utilize these technologies.
That's a good point. I was just thinking about maybe, we can offer them a training program for how to use large language models to write articles at scale, how to validate the content generated by the ChatGPT, stuff like that. But then it's just a tiny part of the whole picture. Yeah. So you need to have a vision.
Yeah, exactly. Or, maybe this newspaper company already has the vision or strategy to decrease the number of journalists, possibly. Then the corporate university needs to draw some learning path to shift journalists into something else, like web marketer, or maybe they will start a new business. Then their journalists can be a good resource for the new business. If not,
Right.
maybe they need to leave. This restructuring is an important role for HR department. So that corporate university of the company definitely needs to work with CHRO or CEO.
I personally observed the change from paper-based subscription to digital-based subscription, the change of the newspaper company's business model. But then I guess with today's AI revolution, it's nothing comparable. I guess they need a really, really visionary leader and make the change. A part of it could be a corporate university. Well, to be fair, I think a lot of news organizations already do, but those kind of program design would be really interesting.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we are closing this episode with that note. It was really an interesting episode, Jin.
It's quite relevant to the modern day issues we are facing right now.
Cool. So with that note, I think we are closing this episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this dive into the history as fascinating as we did. If you have any historical topics or HR topics you want us to talk about, leave a comment. Don't forget to follow us and share our podcast with your friends, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you very much, everybody, and see you in next episode.